part of me. Take Here we are, man. There we are. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Dating Doctor. We want to say thank you for tuning in to our first ever broadcast. We are so excited because the subject we'll cover today, although very, very controversial, is, in our opinion, the most important subject to discuss in the area of relationship preservation, which hopefully is our goal in dating. So we will get to more in a minute, but let me begin by introducing your team, okay? First and foremost, my name is Carlos Mendez, your dating doctor. And a little background on me. I've been happily married for 16 years, and I am an avid reader and a leadership material and self-growth, titled guru. So I also brought today my associate and partner. We call him the Physicians Assistant Steve Estrada. So he'll tell you a little bit about himself.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, I represent the other side of the equation. I'm a single guy. I've been single for 30 years. Married my high school sweetheart. Did spend a dozen years married. Have a couple of kids, a couple of grandkids. But I've been single for half of my adult life. And I am very excited to be partnering with the dating doctor. We are going to take things where they've never been before.
That's truly said. And that's truest wisdom for those of you guys that know me on Facebook. But listen, we also have a buddy of ours that came in today, sit in, and he may chime in with some opinions. He's a guy that has done a lot of dating in his college years and beyond. His name is Fernando. Say hi, Fernando.
How you doing, everybody? Good afternoon.
All right. So between the three of us today, we will address fiery topics, all related to how you can attain and improve on your relationships. Rest assured, the advice that we will provide will tend to be very unconventional and will take a great deal of courage for you to incorporate into your life. But this advice is based on tried and true lifelong universal principles, universal laws, that when applied will give you the best chance at attaining joy in life and succeeding in your relationships. We know this because these principles have been taught and applied since the beginning of time, and philosophers and wise men throughout history have written about these principles. Now, to the degree that these principles are followed and adhered to, on one hand, we see a high degree of effective living and basic happiness, which is the primal desire of all beings. But on the other hand, when we see misalignment and neglection of these principles, we see a people of little effectiveness and of addictive and destructive behaviors. Needless to say, the latter is what we witness more often than not. And I will also add that these principles apply to all of us at all times, regardless of our awareness of their existence or our obedience to them. So to clarify, what we're talking about here are principles and virtues such as honesty, kindness, industry, compassion, forgiving, respectful, fidelity, loyalty, temperament, and humility, to name a few. These principles or character traits are obviously imperative to relationships. However, people, in the context of dating, seldomly examine for their existence. In life, most people tend not to master or demonstrate these qualities themselves. So the consequences keep coming. Now, that said, our aim on the dating doctor is to equip you with tools of character that will inevitably produce results. Results that will yield effective living, will yield success in relationships, and will yield a great amount of joy. Now, I'll offer you a unique definition of happiness. Happiness, at least in great part, is the ability to put off what you want today for what you want tomorrow. It takes discipline to achieve success and happiness. So let's get started. Steve, want to kick these guys off into the intro?
Absolutely. We're going to have fun with today's lesson. We call it the Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen.
12 questions to ask on a first date, but always prior to intimacy. Now, these questions deal with 3 vital areas, which can determine the fate of an intimate relationship. The 3 areas are character, vision, and finance. Let's face it, folks. Number 1, if you're with a person of poor character, your relationship is doomed, or you'll be miserable. Number 2, if you're with a person that lacks vision, you may not aim for a better life. You may not aim to achieve basic goals, and ultimately, you may have challenges with major differences that should have been discovered at the onset, not after falling in love.
Major crime.
Yes. Number 3, finance. Now, this is self-explanatory. And I should mention here that the number 1 reason for breakups and divorce is finance. I mean, why would you take a chance on these 3 things? You've been told that there are plenty of fish in the sea, but most folks refuse to throw a bad catch back into the ocean. All right, everybody ready?
Take notes, everybody. Here come the Dirty Dozen.
Here we go. Question number 1. What is your primary philosophy on life? Do you have one? And if you don't, why not? We all have heard this saying, you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. Dating doctor, shed some light on this, brother.
So I got to tell you, with the primary philosophy, if you ask someone what their primary philosophy is or what their philosophy on life is, and they have no answer or you stump them, what it means is they haven't given much thought to that. What it means that they are not planning on the future. What it means is that they don't have set thinking on what should be and what shouldn't. And so it's called flying by the seat of the pants. It's a very important question to feel out a person that you may be looking to spend some time with, if not the rest of your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we move on to question number 2. What are your 5 best qualities? This is all about self-awareness. And we see people struggle to come up with just a handful here. And all I can say when I see that is,
Exactly. Exactly.
Dating doctor, shed some light on this one, please.
So here's my basic prescription. You know, we do a lot of teaching and a lot of discussion around leadership material and self-help, self-development. And one of the toughest questions that I've ever heard asked of an audience is to name 20 of your best qualities. Time and time again with new audience, what I see is most people struggle to list 4, 5, 6. And beyond that, it gets very repetitive and very flimsy. And so it's a very, very strong question, and it will tell a lot about a person, their best 5 qualities. So what do you think, Fernando?
I think those are very important questions to ask on the first date, because if you're really going to spend some time with someone, or I think the ultimate goal is marriage at the end of it. But if you're looking to spend any time, you want to spend your time with someone of great character, not just waste your time with someone that doesn't put any thought into this.
I hear you, Fernando.
Thank you. Thank you.
That makes sense. All right, folks, so we're going to move on to question number 3. All right. Ready for this one? This could get a little personal. How long ago did your last relationship end? What are we talking about here, dating doctor?
So this is basic, right? People tell me they go out on a date, and sometimes they'll hear things like, "I broke up with my ex as of yesterday." It's not the best thing you want to hear on a date, and it's not to say they're disqualified with that answer. But this question certainly tells a little bit about baggage. Okay, we all know how unhealthy baggage can be in a relationship, so we want to be careful with that. And then we also want to know the honesty of the person. And so with that answer can come along additional questions that you may have for the individual. But you certainly want to know how long it's been. Also, they may still very much be in love with their ex. And so it's something that, like I said, very important to know.
You don't want to get in the middle of that situation.
You do not want to be
Absolutely
in the middle.
not.
Right? So, Fernando, have you been in a situation where people brought baggage?
All the time. All the time. You're going out with them, you spend your time with them, but you know that they're either calling their ex when you're not around, or their ex is somehow involved. He's texting her, she's texting him in the back, and it's just a waste of your own time.
Understood, absolutely.
All right. Question number 4. Here we go. If I ask your ex what your worst quality is, what would they say? Woo! Little honesty here.
That's
Check on honesty.
That's a good question. And
Shed some light here, doctor.
Let me tell you, most people will tend to answer this question by telling you what they think their worst quality is.
Mm-hmm.
What they won't think in terms of is, we're not asking what you think your worst quality is.
No, we're not.
Because people don't think they have a really bad quality for the most part.
We're all good.
So we want to know what your ex would say if we asked him or her the question, right? Because they'll give us the DL.
Right away.
Right?
No thinking.
And so you ask the question in those terms, and then you watch the person start making up an answer right before your eyes. You'll see how uncomfortable they get. But if they give you a confident, quick, and honest answer, you will also know that.
That's right.
So, Fernando, have you been in a situation where this would have served you good to know?
It would have served me good to know, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you ask that question, like you said, they're not going to give you an honest answer. They're going to come up with something in their head to make it seem like they're telling the truth, kind of pass by, but it's not the worst quality about them.
Right. But most of the times when they are making that question up on the fly, would you tend to know that by seeing their behavior and the way they're talking?
You can read the body language, I feel.
Absolutely.
That's the best we're going to get. We got to read what they look like and
That's
decide how much are they lying.
Yes, sir.
Because I think that's the norm. All right, so we'll move on to question number 5 now. What did you not like most about your last relationship?
Wow.
What did you not like most about it?
Yeah, because people can always answer the nice stuff. You know, what did I like most? What did I not like most? And we're going to come back right after this break to discuss this particular question. I want to tell you that this first, portion of the show was brought to you by our hyperbaric oxygen treatment chambers. And if you want, that's for optimal health, right? If you want more information on those chambers right now, you'll be able to call 1-866-797-3236, and you will find more out about the hyperbaric oxygen treatment chambers. So, Steve, let's repeat that question number 5 from the Dirty Dozen.
All right, doctor. Question number 5. What did you not like most about your last relationship? And this could be very revealing about you. Doctor.
Yeah. So what did you not like most about your last relationship? What you want to hear from the person is, in other words, what did they not like about the person that they were dating, or certain dynamics that were created by the two characters here that obviously did not last because they're not together. As you asked this question, there was a reason. Something happened in that relationship. You want to know. You want to know because you need to decipher, is this a person that I want to invest time into? Right?
That's right. That's right.
So, very good question. Fernando, anything you want to add to this?
I didn't like that I got cheated on. Infidelity. Infidelity. And I would say that it comes down to insecurities more than anything. I didn't like the insecurities in the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel people who are insecure are more likely to be unfaithful.
Yeah.
Because if they're seeking attention, anyone can give that to them, and
True.
they're more likely to do something.
They can find it anywhere.
You can find it anywhere, yeah.
And they will. It's like when I go to the gym and I see all the guys taking selfies. It's amusing. I'm not saying they don't have good bodies, but I mean, I see them doing it right in front of me on the mirror there. So I got to be careful with those type of guys, ladies.
I've got a personal take on this question. As we went through the questions, I thought about the other side of it. We talked initially about what the other person did that we didn't like as it related to our relationship. Well, in reflection on my last relationship, I didn't like my contribution to the relationship. I feel that part of the reason we did not succeed was some things that I were doing that were not helpful.
Yeah.
And they contributed to the end of the relationship. So this question can go both ways. For me, it was a learning experience. And going forward, I will take that lesson learned and apply it to my next experience.
Yeah. And remember, folks, sincerity, it goes a long way. And I think you should pay attention to intentions and sincerity. They're important. Okay, let's move on to question number 6 from the Dirty Dozen.
All right, question number 6. This is a tough one. Does pride get in the way of your relationships? We have a saying here, doctor. What does pride do? It gets in the way of everything.
That's right. What I've seen in life is that pride gets in the way of relationships. Pride gets in the ways of finance. Pride gets in the way of family and friends because we apply pride and not humility. We apply pride and not the principles of communication. We apply pride and not the principles of compassion. So watch that in yourself. Pride. It's a poison. And also watch the pride of the others. Because again, here we're talking about high stakes. The person that you may spend a lot of time with, if not the rest of your life with. Anything to add there, folks?
I've got a good one here. A lot of times we can relate to something that we've all done at one point or another. And the thing that comes to mind first is, can we admit when we're wrong? Can we own up to where we made the mistake? And a lot of times our pride will not allow us to do that. And just think of the other side of it. If we could own up to the mistake right away, not 2 weeks later, when all sorts of things have festered and we turn it into a mess, we could just say up front, I'm sorry. What I did was not right, and I apologize, and we can move on from there. That one thing would, it's an unlimited benefit, I think, if we could all adopt that approach, because we all make mistakes, right, doctor?
Oh, well, do we? Oh, do we? The antidote to all of this is maturity. But I got to tell you, maturity runs short, pride runs long. And most people substitute pride for maturity
Hmm.
and don't even know they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's a lesson to learn here.
right? Anything there, Fernando, on this one?
I don't see myself as much of a prideful person. Personally, I don't feel that's been an issue in my relationships. I'm pretty humble for the most part. I'm not prideful or anything. I can admit when I'm wrong. So that hasn't been the biggest issues in my failed relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see in a lot of friends, a lot of family, where I've seen pride take a big role in it. And like you said, it affects their relationships, but everything else around them, their lives at work, their lives with their friends, pride
Mhm.
affects all.
It has a ripple effect.
Good point. Good point.
All right, so I think we're ready to move on to question number 7.
Yes, we are. Let's do it.
This is a good one. Let's think about this. How close are you to your parents? Now remember, this is a question we're asking a prospective mate. I think this is a character revealer.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor?
Yeah. I mean, listen, when people are close to their parents, you know, you can say what you want to say. And there's going to be a lot of people here listening to us that aren't close to their parents. So we're going to have to deal with pride, as we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us know internally, intrinsically, that we should be. That we
Yep.
should be. What we tend to hang our hats on is blame. So the way the human condition works is that if it's your fault, then I have every reason to have pride and every reason to not talk to you because you're inferior.
Mm.
And so this is a rule that a lot of people live life by. But you know what? If I'm meeting somebody that I am going to consider for the rest of my life, hanging out with, you know, being intimate with, getting to know, spend a lot of years with, I want to know that they are compassionate, forgiving, loving, and who better to be compassionate and loving to
Your
than the
parents.
two people that created you.
Respect comes to mind.
Right. And I'm not saying that, you know, family has to be more important than everything else in the universe.
No.
It should be as important as anything else in the universe.
You think?
But certainly a person that does value a good family relationship, closeness, togetherness, cohesiveness, I will give thumbs up to.
I agree.
Right? Any comment there, Fernando?
I agree 100%. That's what I look for in someone when I date them, is how close they are to their family. Because personally, it's important to me
Right.
to have a tight family unit.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not everything. Family shouldn't be everything because there's
Mhm.
so much more than that.
Mhm.
But it reveals a lot about their character if they're close to their parents and
Yeah.
even brothers
Even
and sisters.
brothers and sisters, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else there, physician's assistant? PA?
Well, one thing that comes to mind for me is, in my personal situation, my mother's older. So
Yeah.
she requires a little bit more compassion was the word you
Mhm,
came up
mhm.
with. Because, you know, she's not as she once was back in the day when I
Mhm.
was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to be a better son today than I was in the past because
Mhm.
that's what she needs from me. And I would look for the same thing in a prospective partner.
Yeah,
Look
good.
for the same thing.
I know that when my wife and I got together, one of the things that we both valued was that, you know, that she did value her siblings, family, distant family, and I did the same. So whenever there were gatherings, we could have that in common. When she, you know, wanted to get together with her parents, I was there, and vice versa. So we never had this situation, which I've seen in many relationships, where one party always stays back because they don't have that same value. So then that puts a little bit of, you know, a canker in the armor of that relationship. I've seen it time and time again. So just make sure that the person that you're looking at, considering, dating, even from the first date forward, that you know that the same values and the same vision is going to apply to both of you. It's very important.
All right. I like the way that sounded.
Yeah.
Just want to let you folks know that you're listening to The Dating Doctor on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire?
We're going to go to question number 8. So
Question number 8.
let's do it.
You got it. This is going to be a tricky one. We're going to need some explanation on this one, Doctor.
Okay.
Number 8. Do you strive to love everyone? Oh, boy.
Yeah. So let me tell you right off the bat, the conventional answer to this. You know, I ask this in group settings all the time. And I always catch everybody off guard. So the guys that have been in my courses over the years, some of my tutors, some of my mentors, when asked the question, do you love everyone? Because remember, love is a principle. And principles apply to all of us at all times, regardless of our awareness of their existence. And when we obey them and when we adhere to them, we have good consequences. When we go the opposite way, we have to suffer consequences. And discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons.
Mm-hmm.
So think about these things as we talk about this. But love is not like. I cannot like someone because of certain gross actions, but I can still love that person because I do believe that love is a principle. Loving humanity is a beautiful thing. Loving humanity is a beautiful thing. I will say that twice.
Absolutely.
And you do not have to like everyone, but you should show compassion. You should show understanding. You should show consideration. You should show the bigger you when tested. So that's what's behind the question of, are you a loving person? Do you love all humanity? Hope I shedded some light there for you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. I certainly learned from that example when I first met you back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to question number 9. This is another tricky one. What are you reading? What? What are you reading? Trouble, trouble, trouble.
Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You ain't reading. That's the problem here. You don't want to ask somebody what they're reading when you ain't reading nothing. Right? Nothing that you're learning from. Now, I know I've heard it all. I've heard, I read novels. I read Harry Potter. Okay, now, you got to tell me. What about Harry Potter teaches you about long-lasting relationships? And even though there may be something, there are many books that you can pick up that actually teach you a curriculum on how to apply principles to be successful in intimate relationships, in family relationships, in child-parent relationships, in work-employee relationships. Always look for curriculum because that is how you learn best. You should not have to read a novel to try and find gold nuggets in that novel. Find the gold nuggets and then read into the gold nuggets. So get the actual curriculum because they're in every library and there are in every online library if you just type in the subject you want to learn about. So what are you reading? That's an important question. You ask someone that and they look at you with casino eyes when the eyes start, rolling like you just hit the spin button, right? It's a problem. Because probably the person does not believe in the principle of growth, in the principle of mind development. Mind development, very important here. Okay, it says a lot about a person. And what do you guys think about this? What are you reading?
Well, what it brings to mind to me, and I've been reading pretty consistently now for the last 2.5 years. I recommitted myself to reading and getting better. And the first thing that comes to mind is, are you a humble person? Do you recognize that you might need to get a little better? You might need to improve your approach because if you don't take a proactive stance on being better and getting better, you're not going to get better. You're going to be the same person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and then when things don't go the way you want, you're going to wonder, and you're going to scratch your head. But there are reasons for this.
Now, guys, before you get too upset with us because you're not reading, I'm going to challenge you. Read. It's this simple, okay? The things that you are failing at, read. Search for curriculum. Search for curriculum. Fernando, what do you got to say about the what are you reading question?
I never thought I would agree with it. I mean, you've known me for a while now. You know, my whole college years, I made it a lot more times to the bar than I ever did to the library. But totally agree that reading is very important. Ever since I started to read consistently, changed my whole outlook on so many things about life in general. My results are totally different, you know. And I started off with, like you said, Stephen Covey, Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, all great ways to start, but it just changes your life and your approach to everything.
Some of the best there, Fernando.
Yeah.
Some of the best.
Very good information. Now, I do want to tell you we're about to go on a break here. And remember, the thing on Optimal Health right now is hyperbaric oxygen treatment chambers. You do not want to miss out on learning about this. You can do all the research online, but there is a number to call that you can get more information on financing some of these units to own one or looking at where you can utilize one. The number is 1-866-797-3236.
All right, doctor. We are on question number 10. Question number 10 of the Dirty Dozen. I like this question. I'm going to have some light on this one to shed. Who is your mentor and why?
What's going on, IE? Go ahead and give them some knowledge, PA.
I've got a personal feeling on this question because I never considered that I even needed a mentor. I was the guy that said and thought, I'll figure it out. I've got this. I've got it covered. But what I realized is when I look back over my history, I didn't have it. I didn't have it covered. And behind me was a trail of disaster in some cases.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is I need to start looking at folks who maybe figured it out a little bit. Maybe got to the extent that they could write a book and help somebody like me learn. But I've also learned that people in our lives can be mentors. I was related to my father as my first mentor and my greatest mentor possibly. But here, getting to have met you, you're one of my mentors. And I'd like to know that my mentor has read over 300 books on personal development. You might know a couple of things after reading 300 books, right, doctor?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a true statement. And you really, you know, that's one of the inarguable facts of life that I believe if, you know, you learn so much from just one book. Imagine what you can learn from 50, from 100, and so on. So, yeah, there is a lot to learn. And humility is the key to understanding the importance of reading.
Yep.
And before we give you some commentary on this question, this great question, by the way, I do want to open up a line here. So if you do want to make a comment or talk to us live here, you can call us at 888-909-1050. Again, the number is 888-909-1050. And we'll be happy to take your call if you wish to share any dating experiences or share your agreement or disagreement with the things that we've covered today. We welcome it. So, but let's go ahead and move on with the question here, number 10, which is who is your mentor, right? And why? And we want to ask that because we want to feel out the humility in the person that you're sitting in front of, right?
Absolutely.
You said your dad was a mentor, that you were glad to have met me.
Yep.
And so, mentors are important.
I knew I needed to get better.
Yeah.
And thank goodness there were many, many, many paths for me. Many, many books, many, many courses, audio programs, YouTube, online. There's no shortage of information. What we have a shortage of is people taking the time to input the good information that's out there for all of us.
And you can think back of the last relationship that you had and ask yourself, did this person have a mentor that taught them correct principles of living, that taught them kindness, compassion, honesty, that taught them that these principles are not negotiable, that you must adhere to them at all times? And when you don't follow them, apologize and correct it. Because that is the way that we achieve better than average results in life and in relationships. What do you think about the question, Fernando?
I believe many people take a conventional approach to it and don't feel that they need a mentor. They take the you live and learn approach with the assumption that as you get older, you'll start to figure it out, which doesn't really make sense because if you don't have anyone to guide you or show you the direction to go in, you're just kind of living blindly. And you're not going to get a different result by doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I think that's what
That's right.
Einstein observed a while back.
Definition of insanity.
Definition of insanity.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
That's right.
Not
That's
gonna
right.
happen.
Not going to
Not
happen.
gonna happen.
Going to
So-
dating, if you keep dating the same kind of men, the same kind of women, the question the statement you always hear is like, why do I always end up with these kinds
Yeah.
of people? It's like,
It's
well, you keep doing the
self-explanatory.
same
Keep
thing.
singing them.
Yeah.
Self-explanatory. Self-explanatory.
Oh, boy.
The selection process is the most important piece of dating. And I see the most stubbornness applied to the selection process. Because most people have one or two qualifications. The most important one being, are they hot? Right? If they fulfill that, there's nothing that can really disqualify them,
Hot.
which is the biggest mistake that people make, right? So we're trying to give you a little bit more curriculum and qualifications to expand yourself and to choose successful avenues, right?
Yes.
So now we look at question 11, correct?
Question number 11 is coming up.
All
And
right.
folks, I just want to share with you that what we're trying to do here on this program is to help you increase the odds of meeting that terrific partner. And we want to give you a blueprint to follow so that your chances of success are greatly enhanced. All right, question number 11. This is a good one. What's your current occupation? And then to follow that, what's your 6-month, 1 year, and 5-year vision? What are you doing? And do you have a plan? Let's stretch this one. Let's talk about this one. This is big.
Yeah. So what is your current occupation? At 18 years old, we don't expect it to be as serious as when you are 28, even 24. But certainly, in your late 20s, early 30s, if you're not putting much credence on this area, of occupation, of vision, of 6-month plan, 5-year vision, 10-year visions. If we're not paying attention to this, it is predictable where we will end up.
Mm-hmm.
It is very predictable. And you see this miscalculated time and time again in relationships. People go with the hope factor. The hope factor. They hope things will change. And as you're listening there, you know that the hope factor does not work. Does not work. So we want to step away from the hope and we want to step into the plan is in place and we see the progress and we see the actions that it takes to accomplish these plans. So occupation plays a big role. 6-month vision plays a big role. 12-month vision, 5-year vision. I'll ask the question now on air. Are you and the people you associate with better off today than they were 12 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Are they better off today than they were 5 years ago? Scary questions.
Well, you know what you're going to find. You're going to find the answer to that question being they're in the same place at best. And what you're also risking is they may be worse off.
Regressing.
And that's really scary because we should be getting better as a rule. We should be getting better. And this question right here at least can give someone an idea of where they're at in that moment as you consider them as a partner. And if they've got bad answers to question number 11, you know, you might want to rethink date number 2.
Yeah. And we're not saying that everybody, you know, has to be a senator.
Right.
You know, or Jeff Bezos. You know,
Right.
They don't have to own Amazon to be a good date. But they should have a plan a concrete plan that you can understand and follow to understand that in 6 months they will be greatly improved. And in 12 months, even better. And in 5 years, if you so choose to hang out with this person that long, that you would bring the same type of value to the table as they would.
Right.
Because you want to grow in all areas.
That's right.
Not remain static.
No.
Because we know it spells disaster, and the consequences are usually separation.
We have to strive to be getting better.
It is a rule in life. In every relationship, whether it's work, right? Whether it's family, whether it's spouse, whether it's religious.
Whatever we're doing.
You want to improve on the relationship you have in place.
That's right.
What do you got, Fernando, on this one? Anything you want to add?
If you're a visionary, you have to be with the visionary. So if you have your plan in mind, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and your partner doesn't have one, it's not going to work. You can't carry that weight. You're not going to get to your destination carrying that extra weight on. So I think it's very important to have that in place. And many people don't have that in place.
That's true, and you know, you loosened up a little thing in my head there to add to this. You know, I'll tell you, if you get with the person that has opposite vision as you do, and I got lucky with my wife, we both wanted the same things. You know, we both wanted the ability to be financially independent, and that, as hard as it is to achieve, is a lot easier to achieve it when you're working with someone toward that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to achieve that. But I say it's not easy, but I say it takes 2 mature individuals with vision to get there. But if you go haphazardly into this, what ends up inevitably happening is 5 years later, there's a lot of frustration from one of the parties or both. So please pay attention, close attention to vision as part of your relationship.
All right. So we're to question number 12 now. This is our last question in the Dirty Dozen. I think a few people are going to say, seems like a lot of questions. And we're not surprised because that's going to be pretty much what we expected. All right, so question number 12. And this may apply or may not apply to you, but we can certainly discuss the question. How would you raise children? And the examples are things like religion, philosophies, etc. What would you teach your kids? In what ways would you expect your children to behave maybe differently than you? And again, this question is if it applies to you. For myself, I'm done raising children.
Mm-hmm.
But you might be a younger person and you're thinking that's what's in your future.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to talk about this. And it's a great way to assess a person's overall philosophy, because you can probably expect that if they have a philosophy, that's what they're going to teach their children. So it's a good conversation to have. Doctor, tell us about this.
I got to tell you, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why would I ask this question on a first date? And I'll say this. How has it worked for you not to ask it so far? How has it worked for you not to ask all of these questions so far? Most people that I know treat dating as fun, and then they deal with the consequences of 2, 5, 10 years of dating, relationships, breakups, heartache, many consequences that they don't look for. So let's go ahead and take a break here.
All right. Folks, remember, you're listening to The Dating Doctor on KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire.
Last thought, Steve, and then you said.
I got sex thoughts.
We're gonna bring the bongos out for this next week.
Yep.
If you please, you leave me now. See, it's appropriate, right? This is pertinent.
Absolutely.
You leave me now. You know. So, guys, thank you for coming back. Listen, I think we gave you some strong material, the Dirty Dozen, and the Dirty Dozen is going to make its way back to a lot of our episodes.
Oh yeah,
because it applies to life and relationships, and we'll be able to bring it back as the weeks roll forward. So as we sit here, I do want to just make some final comments here. Okay, the material that we have is so relevant in the area of social media and dating websites. And to arm yourself with principles of correct behavior is absolutely important to accomplishing success in relationships. I'm hopeful that your learning radars are in tune and that you're open to being influenced by what we have here. What I have learned personally in over 25 years of reading self-development material. Now we reached the end of our show, and our hopes is that you picked up some valuable knowledge to put into action in an effort to help you live an effective, joy-filled life. And finally, my PA, any last thoughts, Steve?
Absolutely. I personally am very excited about the future for this program. I think we're going to do a lot of good for folks out there that want to have that great relationship. I think it's not an argument whether you do want a great relationship. I think everybody does want this.
That's true.
And so I've heard a great analogy, and it goes something like this. Think of a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
someone who has a very important business. They put their life's efforts into this business.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're ready to hire their top executive, a CEO, a CFO.
Mm-hmm.
We all can relate to the job interview process.
Mm-hmm.
We can look at that business owner and understand that they're going to screen that individual. They're going to look at resumes. They're going to ask them questions. They're going to look at their history in a variety of ways, because this role that they're looking to fill is the most important role in their company.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's probably very precious to them and their
Mm-hmm.
family.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're getting you folks to understand is that when you're looking for that mate, that prospective partner, that person that you're going to go right off into the sunset with, into old age, share all the important things in life,
Mm-hmm.
what are you asking them? What are you doing to look at them to see if they're qualified? And what we're saying, folks, is that most of us in the conventional world, we're just going by a couple of silly things. Are they hot? What car are they driving? Are they a good dancer? I mean, it's silly when you look at it.
It's that shallow.
So,
really.
folks, all we're talking about here is you are going to be hiring the most important role in your life. And we want to encourage you to make it a better process. And that's all I've got, boss.
I love that. I gotta love that. And I'll tell you, Fernando, just last finishing thoughts here.
I hope that everyone that listened to it takes this in, joins us next week, get the notepad out, because it'll really change you. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely. Well,
Welcome,
you know what?
welcome.
Thank you, PA, for
Thank you, Doctor.
your unbelievable contribution. You too, Fernando. We enjoyed it. And the Dirty Dozen is very valuable, guys. It's your 12 questions, your lifeline for dating and finding a great person to spend the rest of your life with, hopefully, if that's what you're looking for. And be on the lookout for also some information on our up-and-coming seminar on how to find your life mate for successful relationships. So with that, I leave you this week, and we will be back next Sunday at 3 p.m. again, same bat channel. And we're looking forward to helping you, and also looking forward to talking to you guys online also. So we do thank you very much for tuning in today. Thank you from Steve and Fernando and myself.
Thank you.
We will talk to you next week. Thank you, guys.